Okay, boys and girls, we are going to be visiting Module A, Lesson 10, The Road to Freedom. We're finishing up our book, and today we're learning to compare and contrast different accounts of historical events. As we've said before, this is a fictional story, but it has some true elements in it. So we're going to identify the connections between. We can do that between events, individuals, ideas, or concepts in the text. We're going to focus more on the events or concepts within our text, and then just describe the relationship between those two events, or between two or more events or concepts in our text. Our by the way words, or BTW words, we have constellation, which is a group of stars that form a shape. I have the Big Dipper up here. Then we have abolitionist, and if you look at that root word for abolitionist, we have the word abolish, and abolish means to put an end. So abolitionists are a group of people who want to put an end, and in this case, abolitionists want to put an end to slavery. And our last one, fugitive, is someone who runs away. So within our context of our story, the people who are wanting to run away would be the slaves. While you're reading our epilogue, I want you to think about how this writing genre is different from the rest of our book. So we said the rest of our book is a fictional story. I want you to see how the epilogue is different from that. Though the events of this story are fictional, the methods of escape were based on actual historical accounts of those who escaped on the Underground Railroad. The exact number of slaves who fled slavery using the Underground Railroad is unknown, but historians estimate the number to be nearly 100,000. An elaborate system of signals and codes, including references to the drinking gourd as a symbol of the Big Dipper constellation that points to the North Star, helps to keep the Underground Railroad's operations secret. The Underground Railroad began in the 1780s and continued until the start of the Civil War in 1861. Thousands of abolitionists, those who worked to abolish slavery, including Quakers, free blacks, slaves, and many others, took tremendous risk to ensure safe passage for runaways fleeing slavery. When the Fugitive Slave Act was passed in 1850, escaped slaves who made it to freedom in the North were in fear of being captured and returned to slavery in the South. The only way to be truly safe from their slave masters was to run farther north into Freedom's Land, or Canada, which had abolished slavery in 1833. By 1852, an estimated 25,000 fugitives were living in Canada. Harriet Tubman, often called Moses because she led so many of her people to freedom, was one of the most celebrated conductors of the Underground Railroad. At age 28, she escaped alone by walking to Pennsylvania. She completed at least 15 trips back to her native Maryland, rescuing nearly 300 slaves, including many of her family members. She bought a home in Auburn, New York, not far from the border of Canada. All right, our word historical is on page 55. If we read the sentence, though the events of this story are fictional, the methods of escape were based on actual historical accounts. So our root word is history, and we're talking about it took place in history or actual historical accounts. These are real things that have happened that they've read. Then our last word is tremendous. So we have thousands of abolitionists, those who worked to abolish slavery, including Quakers, free blacks, slaves, and many others, took tremendous risk to ensure safe passage for runaways fleeing slavery. So we have this word tremendous here, and it's describing this word risks. So it just means the amazing thing that they did, but this word is describing the risks. So our epilogue gave us a lot of facts, and it made me think about the things in the story that actually happened. So we're going to think about some concepts or events that happened in our story that relate to the facts from the epilogue. So the first one that I have here is that the Underground Railroad systems included the drinking gourd. All right, so then what we would have to do for this is we're going to have to go back into the text and find the text evidence that supports the fact has a connection with this idea of an underground symbol being the drinking gourd. And you should have all of the text in front of you. Looking through from the beginning of the book, we have here where she is talking about her mom being nervous about slaves disappearing, thinking about her dad. Then we have the story of how her dad ended up disappearing from the family or being sold into slavery. Here we have when she woke up in the morning, Mama told me she had a dream about a drinking gourd, a quilt on a fence, and a river as wide as the road. So that's actually multiple symbols, not just the drinking gourd. So she didn't just dream about the drinking gourd, but also other symbols that meant the Underground Railroad. So over here, I'm going to include my text evidence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you two more facts from the epilogue, and I want you to look through the text to find the events in the story that happened that supports. So the first one is the Fugitive Slave Act was passed in 1850. You're looking back through the entire text, the entire story that we've read to find an event in our story that supports this or that goes along with it. It can relate to it. And the last one is that Harriet helped to rescue nearly 300 slaves. And I'm putting quotations around this part because this is straight from the text. So when I quote the text, I want to put it in quotation marks. But this part that I didn't put in quotation marks, I put that in my own words. So you're going back through and you're looking for more events in the story that support that. So that way you can connect the facts from the epilogue to what happened in our story. And that will finish up our Road to Freedom book. I will see you again soon. Thanks, guys.